I'm the
Yeah, it has started recording. You can start.
yeah. So I'm Divya Prakash. So I will be talking about like GNS representation. So, so before beginning, so when we are doing spectral theorem for self-adjoint operators,
Zoom
so
it. Can you zoom it? It's not full screen, I think. Can you zoom over file bit?
how about now?
No, the screen. The screen seems to be. Anyway, it's up to you. If we don't see, we'll complain. Okay, you go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, right. So when we are doing spectral theorem for self-adjoint operators, so we classified cyclic representation of uh, C of X as a representation coming from a finite positive measure. So, so in the case of C of X, we had something called raised representation lemma, like which gave us like whenever we have a positive linear functional, uh, we proved that this is equivalent to giving a finite positive measure on the compact metric space X. But in arbitrary C-star algebras, like we don't have raised representation lemma, but we can still talk about something like the analog of positive linear function on arbitrary C-star algebra. So basically, in this talk, like I will be I will be like, like proving a correspondence between something called states, which will be the analog of positive linear function on space of the continuous function on compact metric space, and the cyclic representation on an arbitrary C-star algebra. So yeah, yeah. So I'll be using these two results without proof because these two require like like Gelf and Naimark theory, which you will see the proof of tomorrow. So I'll be using these two results without proofs. So namely, if you have C-star algebra and
This is
then
clear, no? What is the point?
no you no you need
Every
like function.
self-adjoint element. Oh, in a C-star algebra, you want to say it's in
Yeah,
C.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So so given any self-adjoint element X in uh, like ancestral algebra A, we can write it as difference of two positive elements. Positive elements means it is a square of
Yeah.
some self-adjoint element. And the second result I'll be using is an element is positive is same as saying it is of the form Z star Z for some Z.
Yeah.
So these two are the results I'll be using without proof. So moving on. So yeah. So this is what I was talking about. The analog of positive linear function on space of continuous function on C-star algebra. So so basically let's say we have linear function phi from our C-star algebra. It's just linear. A priori it's not continuous, but I will prove it's continuous. So these two statements are equivalent, namely psi of x star x being positive for all x and phi of 1 equal 1 is same as saying phi is continuous and operator norm of phi is equal to 1. So any two linear function which satisfies these two properties is called state. So so first assume 1,
So
namely psi.
what's the serial of the complex numbers?
Yeah, complex numbers. Yeah, I should have put math B at my bad. So yeah, yeah. So first assume 1, namely phi is positive one, uh, positive elements, and phi of 1 is 1. We need to prove it's continuous. So now consider this thing B of xy to be phi of y star x. Now let's say x is any self-adjoint element in A. So we can write x as A minus B for some positive elements A and B. So this means phi of x is phi of A minus phi of B. But phi of A and phi of B are both positive because by assumption it's positive. In other words, so this means uh, phi of x is real whenever x is self-adjoint. Now let's say x any element in A. So consider Cartesian decomposition like A plus IB for where A and B are self-adjoint elements. Then X star will be given as A star minus I B star, which is same as A minus IB because A and B are self-adjoint. So if you apply phi to this, we'll get phi of X star to be equal to phi of A minus I phi B, which is same as phi of A plus IB conjugate, and which is same as conjugate of phi of X. In other words, we have that phi of X star is equal to conjugate of phi of X for all X. So with these things, it's easy to see that this B satisfies all the product of inner product except the fact that Bxx0 does not necessarily imply X is equal to 0. In other words, B is a semi-inner product. Since it's a semi-inner product, B will satisfy Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. So So we will have absolute value of b of xy squared to be less than or equal to absolute value of bxx times byy. If you plug in y equals 1, we will get this relation to be 5x square to be less than or equal to 5x star x times norm of phi 1. Since phi 1 is 1, this is same as 5x x star x. Now, so this is something I want to say. So like, now given any element x star x minus norm of x square times 1, which this one is the multiplicative identity. This is always less than or equal to 0. Like this is not so obvious because for need we need functional calculus, which means we need Gelfand-Naimark theory for this. So I should also include, I should have included this in black box, but anyway. So since psi is positive, so applying.
What do you mean by positivity in a C-star algebra here?
Right. So means whenever x is positive, psi of x is positive, and psi of x is non-negative.
No. Element in C-star algebra. Your definition is it can be written as x star x. That's your definition. What's the definition?
X can be written as s square for some self-adjoint s.
Okay.
I mean, I am using this result that is same as saying z star z.
That's okay.
Yeah. So now using positivity of phi, we will get that norm of phi x star x is less than or equal to norm of x square times phi 1, which is same as norm of x square. So if you use the previous relation, this boils down to saying norm of phi x is less than or equal to norm of x, which means phi is continuous. So this proves that one implies 2. Now for the other direction, now assume 2, namely phi is continuous and operator norm of phi is same as phi of 1 is equal to 1. We need to prove that phi of x star x is positive for all x. So since like using spectral mapping theorem, it is easy to see that phi of x star x is a subset of non-negative reals. So since spectrum of x star x is compact, so we can find two non-negative a and b such that sigma of x star x sits inside a and b. Now let C be the midpoint of this interval, so a plus b by 2. Now let's say lambda is an element in this spectrum. So this means that x star x minus C minus lambda is not invertible. This means this is same as saying C plus lambda lies in the spectrum of x star x. This is same as saying lambda sits inside this interval minus b plus a by 2 to b minus a by 2. In other words, spectrum of x sigma x star x minus C sits inside this interval. Since for any normal element in C-star algebra, the spectral radius of that element is same as the norm of that element. So spectral radius of x star x minus C is same as x star x norm of x star x minus C. So this will give us that norm of x star x minus C to be less than or equal to b minus a by 2. So if we use if we apply phi to x star x minus C, we will get that this is less than or equal to b minus a by 2. So if we prove that like phi x star x is a real number, then this will force phi of x star x to lie in this interval a comma b. But a and b are non-negative, so this will force phi of x star x to be positive real number. I mean non-negative real number. So it all boils down to show that phi of x star x is a real number. So let's say psi of x star x is alpha plus I beta for some real alpha and beta. Now replacing x star x with minus x star x if necessary, assume that beta is non-negative. Now for any natural number n, we have this relation, namely n minus iota times x star x norm whole square is n square plus ni x star x minus x star x plus x star x whole square. This is same as n norm of n square plus x star x whole square. Using triangle inequality, this is same as norm n square plus norm x star x whole square. So if you apply phi to n minus I x star x, and if you take square of its norm, this is same as n plus beta square plus alpha square. So we have this relation, n square plus norm x star x square is equal to norm phi square. Norm phi is basically 1, so multiplying by 1 doesn't make any difference, times n square plus norm x star x square. This is same as saying that using this inequality. So this is same as saying this is greater than or equal to norm phi square times norm of n minus I x star x whole square. This is same as saying this is greater than or equal to absolute value of norm of phi of n minus I x star x whole square. But this is equal to n plus beta square plus alpha square. Now let's say beta is strictly positive. This means so we have inequality of this form n square plus some constant that is norm x star x whole square is greater than or equal to n plus beta square plus alpha square. If beta is strictly positive, then you will get a term linear in beta, namely 2n beta. So for sufficiently large n, this term will dominate this term, which means the above inequality will fail. So this forces beta to be 0, which means psi x star x is real, and hence psi x star x sits inside this interval AB, which sits inside non-negative reals, which forces psi x star x to be non-negative, and this proves that 2 implies 1. So basically we have proven that like psi being positive and phi of 1 equal 1 is same as saying phi is continuous and operator number phi equals phi 1 equals 1. So this is the analog of positive elements I was talking about. This is called states on a C-star algebra. Now an example for state, let's say we have cyclic representation pi for A with cyclic vector V, then this function phi x equals inner product of phi x v comma v. This will define a state on A. This is easy to see. And yeah, now this is the main result. So basically, whenever we have cyclic representation pi, we have a state, namely given by inner product of phi x v with v. But conversely, given any state, we can construct a cyclic representation of A to some Hilbert space H phi with cyclic vector v phi, such that this relation holds good, namely phi x is indeed given by this representation. And conversely, and if theta is another representation such that the same happens, namely phi x is given by theta x v with inner product of theta x v with v, then there is a unique unitary operator from H to H phi such that u theta x u star is pi x for all x in A. So this is the main result I'll be proving today, namely given any state, I'll be constructing a cyclic representation out of it. So to start with, we'll continue with the previous semi-inner product, namely since psi is the state, this will mean that this bxy defined by psi y star x is a semi-inner product on A. So if I is the subset of A where set of all x for which bxx is 0, then basically you see Cauchy-Schwarz, we have this relation. Now norm of bxy square is less than or equal to norm bxx times norm byy. So from this we can conclude that an element x lies in this set I if and only if for all y in A bxy is 0. Now using this relation, it is easy to see that I is a left ideal. Now since I is a closed subspace of S, so we can quotient it by I. So namely we are basically like throwing away the space where B fails to be an inner product. So namely this HA defined by A quotient with I. Yeah. 1 second. Yeah. So let phi be the natural map from A to HA, namely the quotient map. So now define an inner product on this quotient space, namely inner product between phi x and phi y are defined to be precisely bxy. I claim that this defines a valid inner product on HI, and hence this will make H with this inner product an inner product space. So to see this, basically we need to prove that inner product of x plus this coset I with y plus I is same as phi y star x. So pick corresponding representatives, namely pick x1 x2 y1 y2 such that x1 minus x2 lies in y, and y1 minus y2 lies in I, then we have that b of x2 minus x1 with x2 minus x1 is same as b of y2 minus y1 with y2 minus y1 is equal to 0. So by this observation that an element x lies in I if and only if for all y bxy is 0, using this relation we get that b of x2 minus x1 comma y1 is 0. So using the linearity in the first coordinate, this will give us b of x2 y1 equals b of x1 y1, and similarly b of x2 comma y2 minus y1 is also 0. So again, using the linearity in the second coordinate, this will give us b of x2 y2 equals b of x1 y1, which proves that this inner product on the space, the quotient space Hi defined by bxy defines a valid inner product on Hi. Now, yeah, I mean, so far what we have is that it defines a valid semi-inner product of Hi. Now we will check that it is indeed an inner product. So if x plus I, if inner product of x plus I with x plus I is 0, then we have that this is same as saying bxx is 0. But bxx is 0 is same as saying x lies in I, but x lies in I means x is equal to 0 in Hi. So this relation defines a genuine inner product on this quotient space Hi. So yeah, now pick a coset phi x in Hi and consider this map L phi x from Hi to Hi given by left multiplication. Namely, L phi x of some coset y plus I is psi of xy. I claim that this is a well-defined bounded linear operator on this quotient space Hi. First, we'll begin by proving that this is well-defined. So pick two elements y1, y2 such that y1 minus their difference lies in I. Now since I is a left ideal, this will mean that xy1 minus xy2 lies in I, which is same as saying psi of xy1 is same as psi of xy2, which means that L psi x is well defined. So all that is left to show is that L phi x is a bounded linear operator. But yeah, but we'll prove something stronger. We'll prove that norm of L phi x is less than or equal to norm of x. This norm is taken in our original system algebra. Now this is same as saying that for all y in system algebra A, phi of y star x star xy is less than or equal to norm of x square times phi of y star y. Now to see this, now consider this functional from lambda from, sorry, this should be C, my bad. Now consider this functional lambda on A given by lambda z to be p of y star zy. I claim that this is positive because lambda of z star z is precisely p of y star z star times zy, which is clearly positive because phi is positive. So dividing by lambda 1 if necessary, we can see that since lambda is positive linear functional, so if we divide by lambda 1, which will mean that the function lambda by lambda of 1 is a state on A. So this will give us that norm of lambda is equal to lambda of 1 is equal to p of y star y. So if you use this under this relation, p of y star xy, this is same as lambda x star x. This is less than or equal to operator norm of lambda times norm of x star x. Now operator norm of lambda is precisely p of y star y. So this proves the claim. Namely that
go a bit slow and explain each and every line. I mean, you are just reading it, so people may not understand. You are correct. Okay.
I mean, this is a presentation. So, I mean, this is
leave some gap.
So all I can do is read. I mean, do you want me to repeat this?
Yeah, maybe you want to prove that. What do you want to prove? You want to prove that you
multiplication by
the left multiplication operator.
Yeah, this
right?
is bounded.
You are proving that is bounded.
Yeah.
That you are defining a new linear functional and using
lambda, which is given by p of y star zy.
If now this is clear to everyone, I mean, he's just using the earlier. What are you using? You are using that lemma that norm is attained at 1. Is that what you are using?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, mention that like that will be better.
If
you have mentioned more explicitly, that will be better.
Say it again, more explicitly.
Yeah.
what,
Yeah, so
no, what is this xi there? Xi of x?
this psi x.
Ah, xi.
Yeah, psi x means x plus I, means the coset of
It's a
x.
quotient map, right?
Yeah. Quotient map.
So now why do you write L xi of x? I mean, this see, for any x you are defining Lx, or you are defining L for only the quotient you are defining that, is it?
I mean, yeah, only for the quotient I'm defining.
No, but I don't know why. Because you want to represent the C star algebra on this B of H, no? Not B.
Yeah, but if
No,
yeah, but if
you
you
are using HI, no? H phi or HI. What is this? HI is same as the quotient at Hilbert space, right?
yeah.
I mean, you have a linear functional, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You have a linear functional. You took the kernel of that function and quotiented it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then you completed it. You took the closure.
No, I haven't completed it. I
You
haven't completed it.
Oh, okay. So you once you know, so it is bounded.
Like I'm proving that it's bounded before completion.
Okay.
Then it will extend to a bounded.
That's fine. That's fine. But this is just the quotient space with without completion.
Yeah, without
It
completion.
is just the quotient space, right?
Yeah.
Which is the inner product space. You have the same thing.
Yeah.
Inner product.
Yeah.
Okay, you are defining L. Okay, you want to define L chi of x, which is just left multiplication, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you are proving that this left multiplication is bounded by doing all this.
Yeah, by using the previous proposition.
Well, this would be better if you want to write it, but otherwise one has to read, and I mean anybody has to write it, and then only one will get convinced that really it's bounded. Anyway, the inequalities are there. By looking at it, it's clear it's bounded. So if anybody has a doubt, you can answer them. Otherwise, we can continue. You are asking something, Arka. Is this clear to you?
Yeah, Pinard. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so moving on. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, now I'm completing this inner product space. So let H phi be the completion of this space, this quotient space with respect to this inner product. So this comes equipped with an like an inclusion from Hi to H phi, which identifies Hi as a dense subspace of H phi. So now since each L phi x were bounded linear operators on Hi, so this will extend to given bounded linear operator from H phi to H phi. Call this map as pi x. So for each x in our C-star algebra, we have mapped from H phi to H phi, which satisfies this property, that namely pi x when applied to psi z is phi xz. So if you look at pi xy when applied to this coset phi z, this is same as phi xyz. On the other hand, if you consider the combination of phi x with phi y applied to the coset z, this is same as pi x applied to the coset yz. This is same as the coset xyz, which means that pi x pi y is same as pi xy. So this map pi from A to the space of operators on H phi is a algebra homomorphism. It only remains to prove that this is star homomorphism. To see this, now by definition, like this inner product is like given by inner product of pi x with psi y with psi z is same as phi of z star xy, which is same as phi of xz star whole star times y. This is same as inner product of psi y with pi x star pi z, which means that on this, which means that this pi of x star is the adjoint of pi of x. I mean, this relation holds good on this dense subspace Hi of H phi. So it holds for all x in the completion H phi. So what we have is this operator pi of x star is same as the adjoint of pi of x. So this proves that this representation pi is indeed a representation. So to see that it's cyclic, note that for any x in A, if you apply pi of x to the coset 1 plus I, this is same as x plus I. But this set x plus I x in A is same as the quotient space Hi, which is dense in H phi. So which means that this element 1 plus I, now call it as V phi. This is the this is the cyclic vector for this representation. So this proves the first part of the theorem, namely, given any state on the C-star algebra A, we constructed a cyclic representation for A such that phi of x is equal to inner product of phi x v5 with v5. Now, for the other direction, let's say we have another cyclic representation theta from A to H with a cyclic vector v such that phi of x is given by inner product of theta x v with v. This means for all x y in A, we have that theta inner product of theta x v with theta y. I mean, there should be a v here. It's a type of my. Yeah, inner product of theta x v with theta y v is the same as inner product of theta y star x v with v. This is same as phi of y star x by this relation. Now this v now is same as by the construction from the previous paragraph. We know this is the same as phi of x applied to v5. I mean, inner product of phi of x v5 with phi of y v5, and we know that these sets phi of x v5 and theta x v with x bearing in our C-star algebra are dense in H phi and H because v and v5 are cyclic vectors. So this means we have a unitary map from H to H phi, which takes this element phi of x v5. No, I mean, which takes theta x v to phi of x v. Yeah, we have a unitary from H to H phi, which takes theta x v to pi of x v5. This means that u theta x u star is equal to pi of x. So therefore, we have constructed the unitary between these two spaces. Yeah, so we are done. Any question?
So Deepak is over. Can I start my?
Sir, you are mute.
Yeah, what did you say? Sorry.
No one has a question. Can I start my presentation?
Yeah, so no one has a question. Let me ask. Anybody has a question? So this is just GNS representation. This is like what you do is, if you have a measure, then you have a L2 mu, and you act the C of x on that. This is just a non-commutative version of that. If you have a C-star algebra, this is like an L2. It's the same thing. Using a measure, using a state, you can define some sort of L2, non-commutative L2, and it's act exactly like multiplication in the left.
So what are the reference for this? Like, it is not in Sundar's book.
This is in Sundar's book, the first book, Spectral Theory. It is there.
Oh, okay.
It is just he has reproduced the same proof. Okay, so I will stop his recording and then I will start yours.